Welcome back. The leader of the United Democratic Movement, General Bantu Holomisa, has called on political parties to join hands in addressing the land issue. He was speaking at a press conference in Durban earlier today.
We have heard the people, but let us now meet those who supported this issue of land and make it a point that when we go to Parliament, we don't differ there, and then after having raised the hopes of many in this country, at least ANC, EFF, ourselves, IFP and other small parties support this current setup, we will definitely have a 2/3 majority to review the Constitution.
Well, General Holomisa joins us now from our studios in Durban. Good evening to you, General, and thank you for joining us this evening. Across the political spectrum, excepting for parties like the DA and those on the right, it's difficult to find anyone who isn't in support for some form of land reform in terms of expropriation without compensation. But quite what everyone means, that's the real issue, isn't it?
Yes, we need to converge or meet as soon as possible so that we iron out our misunderstanding and differences, because you hear other people having different views but having no objection to the fact that the black South Africans have long been denied access to land. And this is a debate which has been delayed for quite some time. The opportunity is now for us as a country to compare notes and make sure that the issues related to economic emancipation of the majority citizens of this country is not addressed exclusively without the land question.
Part of the contestation has been for some time now, whose idea is it anyway? Both the EFF and the ANC certainly have styled themselves as the champion of expropriation without compensation.
I'm not even interested in that debate. All I know is that right at the beginning of the negotiations, or we may even go further than that. You will recall that in the conflict of South Africa between black and white, military speaking, there were no winners. Not a single liberation movement can claim that they had liberated a square inch of the land. But Mr. Mandela and others thought of engaging the establishment then through negotiations. So the current constitution was as a result of those negotiations. Therefore, there can't be any one political party which is going to enforce their thinking over other people. The question of the land affects all South Africans. You have churches which must also declare which part of the land they own. You have the private sector, which businesses which own the land. You have traditional institutions, traditional leaders. You have government, and so on and so on. But the bottom line is that black South Africans must be assisted in having access to land. Whether it was EFF or ANC, it doesn't matter. The conflict between black and white in South Africa has long been around the issue of land.
General, there is a view that suggests that if we change the constitution, and you talk about having the numbers to do so, that once we are specific in terms of the definitions of what we mean, this may yet bog the process down even further. It may yet be years before we see any expropriation happen, because now we're going to open it to court challenges, whereas in fact Section 25 is quite broad as it is and is open for action to happen immediately.
It is precisely for that reason that the UDM from time immemorial has been calling for the economic CODESA, and high on the agenda of the CODESA, economic CODESA should be the issue of land. That process would have enabled all affected people to converge under one roof. Once we find a consensus or a sufficient consensus, then you can take that resolution back to Parliament and say this is the model South Africans are wanting. Therefore, the political parties in Parliament would simply endorse, and if there is a need to amend the Constitution, amend, but at least they would have had a support of the process. But now there are players, as you can see, who are waiting for the amendment of the Constitution or attempt to amend the Constitution. Then they would frustrate the whole process. So that's why I'm saying, let's go back, call everyone who is affected to converge under one roof and say, quo vadis, the land question in South Africa.
All right, we'll leave it there with General Bantu Holomisa, of course, the leader of the United Democratic Movement, calling on all parties who are affected by this issue to come together in a dialogue process to be able to move it forward. Quite what it will mean for everyone remains to be seen, because, of course, there are those who will want to point to score political points on this issue. Stay with us. You're watching The Full View.